Hey guys, what's up? My name's Kaplan. I'm a professional Valorant player and in-game leader for Spacestation Gaming. I play Sova and some other agents for them, and I thought I'd make you guys a tier list. There's a lot of tier lists out there that are like, what are the best agents? What's going to carry me in ranked? There's already plenty of that. Not going to give you that, but what I'm going to give you is a pro perspective tier list on building a comp, what agents are must pick, what agents really define the meta, and kind of have a confirmed place in a comp and sort of shape the agent comps. I think it'll be useful for you guys if you're 5 queuing, if you want to know what to run when you scrim or play in weekly tournaments with your friends, or if you just want to feel more informed during the upcoming tournaments, like First Strike qualifiers that start today. Can't wait to play in them. I actually play in them in 2 hours here. Anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the S tier. For me, S tier, an agent is filling a role that you need on every single map and is either the only agent that fills that role or they fill it so much better that there's no reason not to choose them over their alternative agents. So I'm going to start with Omen. I think you need smokes on every single map. I'm not including Icebox in this tier list because it's not played competitively yet in tournaments or anything. We haven't really been scrimming it much. You need smokes. Brim and Viper also have smokes, but Omen's way better. Let's see, his Paranoia is one of the best abilities in the game. It's insane on execute and retake, and it gets a lot of free kills and outright ends rounds. His smokes are the best in the game. They go across the map. They're free. They're the biggest smokes. They regenerate. They don't make any sound when you cast them. His TP and his ult are kind of meh, but there's some playmaking there, and they plug into the rest of his kit and throwing fakes and stuff really well, and people are starting to get really good at using them. I think there's no reason not to run Omen on every single map, and any comp without Omen is worse than a comp with Omen. All my homies love Omen. The only other character I'm going to put in S tier here is Sova. I'm going to call this role the info gatherer. He's the only character that fills the role. Cypher kind of comes close with the camera, but not really. Little caveat, I think Sova's terrible in split. The map's really tight and vertical, so his arrows aren't that good. And it plays more straightforward and fast, so the info's not as useful. But on every other map, I think a comp with Sova is better than a comp without Sova. His recon dart gets picks, helps with executes and retakes. His shock darts on a pro level are really important for hard countering Cypher and Killjoy utility and removing those wires, those mollies, those cameras, and so on. His ultimate is probably one of the best in the game. You can ult players who have their ult up and take them out of the round before they get to use it. It hard counters the Killjoy ultimate. It's good on retake. It's good on execute. It's good to deny bomb plants. It's good to deny bomb diffuses. It's so easy to get value out of the ultimate that you don't end up holding on to it for any rounds. You can just always find value, and that's why you might feel like you're seeing a lot of Sova ults go off in one pro game because there's never a reason to hold on to it almost. Love that ability. And the drone is one of the best abilities too, right? It takes a ton of space for 300 credits, and it's definitely the best anti-op ability in the game. You just drone out of space and you dart an op, and then they have to run away. Otherwise, they get pre-fired by a rifle. So that's it for S tier for me. For A tier, it's just things that are almost S tier, but are a little more replaceable. I'm going to start with Cypher as an example. I think you need that flank watcher role on a team. That's what I'm going to call that role. The ability to watch flanks without having a player there. It helps you play more grouped towards certain parts of the map on attack. It helps you not worry about retakers flanking you when you plant the bomb. It's really good for playing retake on a certain site, which is really meta right now. You don't have to worry about attack walking through the bomb site and sneaking on you because you've just wired it all up. His camera's extremely good on retake. It's good for finding info on attack. His cages really help on attack defaults because you don't need to Omen smoke everything. You can do things like cage the A-cross on Haven or Split, and it helps you get space and deny info and be flexible without having to use an Omen smoke there, which is a more important smoke for your mid-round execute and other parts of your default. Great character. The wires get free kills sometimes, but not much. His ult's terrible. It's a win more ult. You need to have a dead body and be able to run up to it to get it value out of his ult. Well, that's already a good situation to be in the first place. There's a dead body, and you're so safe that you can go stand on top of it. You're probably already winning the round. That's why it feels like his ult has a high win percent. The next character I'm going to put in A tier, I'm going to call this the evasive duelist. I think the most important thing about an evasive duelist is they make certain plays and angles playable and possible, and it becomes really hard as the team playing against them to deal with that. You have to respect so many more angles, be worried about so many more things. It's taxing. It's easier to make mistakes because of it, and it's just frustrating to deal with compared to when you play against a team without a Jett or Reyna, and you're like, I don't have to worry about as many of these angles, and like I just can be more lazy because one and done spots are actually one and done, and so on. And obviously her ultimate's really good after the nerf even. It does a ton of damage, it's extremely clutch. Her smokes help in the same way Cypher smokes help. and she adds verticality on your defense with her updraft. Very good character. Worse with the op nerf, but I think people are underrating the rifle Jett, and we'll see her make a little bit of a comeback. The next character I'm going to put in A tier is Reyna. I think they fill the same role. She has flashes, whereas Jett has smokes. She's a little more high risk, high reward. She's better on pistol round because she can heal up and pop off. Her ult is worse, but again, like Sova ult, no reason to hold on to it, so you're always getting value out of it. And I think another reason they both belong in A tier and right next to each other is it's a very impactful role, but you can run both of them, right? That 5th flex pick can easily go to one or the other. And having 2 of them doesn't really overlap and hurt you. It's just the more the merrier, right? The more crazy angles, the more playmaking. It can get really crazy even on a pro level if you have the right players on your team. And that's it for A tier for me. And then the first character in B tier here is Killjoy. I think Cypher is generally better at the flank watching role, but I think there's reasons to run Killjoy. I think the turret watches your flanks on attack better than Cypher. There's only so many wires you can put that aren't jumpable or duckable. And what happens on a pro level is you get Sovas like me who just are obsessed with set shocking your wires. And it's really hard to deal with on attack because you don't know if somebody's flanking. All you know is your wires are dying at the start of every round, and it sort of removes the character's value. You can't do that with a turret, right? You'd have to hit it twice with a shock. You really can't predict where it is because you can put it in so many different places because people can't jump it. You would have to go flank to kill it, and then they either know you're flanking or you're leaving and hoping to flank later, or it was kind of pointless. So I don't know, it just feels weird to try to deal with it. It's pretty good in that regard. Alarm bot's the same way. You can put it in so many different places without it being jumpable that it's really hard to shock dart it. So she's better at watching flanks on attack, but she loses out on that second smoke that Cypher offers to an attack default. I think her mollies are actually pretty bad on defense compared to wires, and people could smoke her turret. You can't really smoke a wire. Let's see, her mollies are good on attack, on executing, and her ultimate is great on retake. I think it's awkward on attack, and people have a hard time getting value out of it, and you end up kind of staring at it being up for multiple rounds, and that sucks. But really good on retake, which matters a lot in a retake meta, and it can deny their retake ult as well, which is pretty good. So I'll put Killjoy in B. Next character in B tier here for me is Raze. I think she's insane and a must pick on Split, and close to it on Bind, and pretty bad on the other 2 maps. She's a weird pick. She doesn't have evasion, and she doesn't have flashes, but she does have really insane stall, right? I think we don't see the slow orb anymore. So for most of the stall, we see paranoia and some breach stuff. She has stall too. You're trying to execute B on Split, but she's playing B heaven, and she just nades you out, and you all have to cancel. She takes space really well because of the Roomba and the nade. The Roomba can get info sometimes. Her ult's really scary to execute on when you're on attack and she's playing defense, and it's pretty nice on post plant. I think people could get better at finding ways to use her ult to create a 5v4 early in a round rather than just popping it and running at people, you know, get a little more setup involved. I think she's got a higher ceiling than we've seen. I like Raze a lot as that 5th niche pick on certain maps. The next character I'm going to put in B tier, he's right on the edge of B and C for me. And the last B tier character is Phoenix. Why do I like him? I don't think he's that crazy on paper. He doesn't have evasion, so you can't put him in that role, but he's a good 5th pick. He has a flash, he has a molly, he has a wall, which is basically smoke, and he has a heal. He's basically the Counter-Strike character, right? He can do everything for the team and for himself. So he's really flexible. He's not great, but you can't go wrong with him. He's hard to mess up. You always get value out of running him in a comp, and that matters a lot. His flashes are hard to dodge if you throw them well. People are coming up with really good ways to use his wall, and his ultimate has always been really good. So I think he's a good 5th pick just because you can't fuck him up. It's Phoenix. You put him on a team and he gets value, and that's that. So I'm a fan of him. I kind of don't think he belongs in an ideal comp, but this game is hard to play perfectly, and you can't really mess him up. First character I'm going to put in C tier, probably my hot take of the day, is Breach. I don't like Breach that much. He was designed kind of to be this anti-op character by giving him the stun descoping and a 3rd flash. There's not that many ops anymore, so he's not important in that regard. People are back to being good at playing around his ult. It's really good ulting on retake. It's easy, but ulting on attack, a lot of the time you feel like you're holding on to it or just ulting into an empty bomb site that nobody's even playing anyway because they're going to retake. His flashes feel more like stall. It feels like people rarely are actually getting killed by the flash, and Riot has said the same thing. The data shows it's not really getting kills. You have to flash for teammates, really, to do much with it. He's terrible at using his abilities by himself. That's the big problem. Reyna and Phoenix, they can flash for their teammates by running in first and being in front and flashing. Breach can't do that. if he has teammates to help set up, he's okay. He's pretty good, but he's pretty terrible by himself. He can't really clutch and make his own plays at all, in my opinion. And I think he's the opposite of the problem of Phoenix. He's great on paper, but he's clunky. If you screw up teamwork, he loses all his value. It's too risky. It's inconsistent. I find the payoff is not worth it. Next character I feel similarly about, Viper. She can't reliably smoke lots of areas, so she can't be your main smoker like Omen. And then you're implying she's a 5th pick. On paper, she's really cool. You can throw fakes. You can deny space with the mollies. She's really neat, but she's clunky. Her ult screws everybody in the server over except her. The delay on smokes makes it really awkward to work with teammates because they turn off and on at a delay. She's basically filling a 5th pick, and why wouldn't you just take a character with flashes and mollies and a crazy ult? If this game became insanely slow, she could be a 5th pick, but I don't believe that will happen, and I know some people try to run her on split, and that's great, but I'm not a fan of it. I think if they reworked her poison orb so you could throw multiple per round or something, she could be viable because she could replace Omen or Brim. But until she can, I don't think she has any place, but she could do some cheese stuff, so I'm going to put her in C tier. Next character, Sage. I'm going to put her in C tier. She hasn't been played at all. Her slow orbs are still good. The wall is terrible, but you can gimmick things like the Ascent windows or the back of B on Haven with it. I think those things are going to get more value lately because people aren't going to be used to it because Sage isn't played anymore. I don't think there's really a great reason to play her still. Her ult basically implies you can only use it when you have a dead teammate, so you can't use it to get ahead in an even round, right? You're already behind usually if you're using it, and I think that makes her ult more terrible than people think. The reason I'm putting her in C tier is because I think you could cheese a map in a BO1 or a BO3 with her. I don't know how to do it, but I believe in it. And Brim, I'm going to put in D. Is Brim the worst character on this tier list? No, but there's the least reason to run him over anybody else. He doesn't have cheese stuff like Viper or Sage, and he just does Omen's job so much worse. His smokes cost money. They don't go across the map. They're louder. They're smaller. His molly is good, but it's nowhere near as good as Paranoia. His stim is mediocre and worse than Omen's normal TP, and his ult is actually very good, but the problem is that fraggers are getting their ult themselves with their points and kills, right? And then you end up giving a support player oftentimes the ult orb unless somebody's really close to their ult, and that's always going to be Sova, right? You want Sova getting orbs and planting bombs because, in my opinion, his ult is much better than Brim. So you end up with a character where their best point is an ult that you don't really want to be bothering getting anyway because Brim's not getting a ton of kills, and you would rather have a Sova ult. So he kind of doesn't get to use his best piece of kit that much, and there's just no good reason to run him. I think Riot said they want to give him some love, and that would be cool, although I think Omen's a more interesting character. But for now, he goes in D. That's it for my tier list, guys. I hope it was helpful. That's kind of what I think about when I build a comp or when I try to build a comp with my teammates or analyze another team's comp. You got this smokes, this info gatherer, the flank watchers, the evasive duelists. To me, those are kind of the bones of a comp. You really want a player in each of those roles. And then you kind of have that 5th flex pick that you can get creative with. There's definitely different opinions out there, but that's mine. I hope it was interesting. I hope it was useful. I love making content like this, so I'm going to keep making it. This is my final patch 1.10 tier list, but I'm going to try to make one right at the start of that patch. Tomorrow I'm going to read the notes and look at Sky and make kind of a for fun guest tier list, and then at the end of the next patch we can make another tier list and see what I got right and wrong. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Any critiques, comments, just let me know, and have a great day, guys. Take it easy. And then real quick, guys, I just wanted to do a little ad, a little sponsored thing at the end here, and shout out SteelSeries as well as Spacestation Gaming. My org, Space Station, partnered with SteelSeries. Awesome little partnership they got going, and they sent me a bunch of gear. I got a Apex Pro keyboard, a QCK Edge large mouse pad, but most importantly, I want to plug this headset. I got the Arctis Pro wireless with the Game DAC kind of amp that it comes with. And I would recommend it. Obviously, this is sponsored, but it's genuine. I underrated how nice a wireless headset is. It's really fun to just be able to walk around your home, get a snack, and stay part of your Discord and talking to people while you do it. Kind of not leave that flow state, hanging out with your homies, playing games. I'd recommend it a lot. It's really comfortable. It's super good design. Swap out the batteries. Definitely check it out. Check out the SteelSeries website. They got good gear. They got new mice coming out. You'll see what they are pretty soon here, I think. And if you use the code Kaplan, Kaplan, you help me out and you get 12% off. So if you are looking for some new gear, They've always been a reliable gaming peripheral company, and I recommend it. All right, take it easy, guys.